Chapter 8 Aftermath. Warmth. That was the first thing Mara registered as consciousness slowly dragged her up from the deep, dark place she'd been hiding. Not pain, though, that was there, waiting, a dull throb that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Not fear or confusion or the memories of violence. Just warmth. Steady, encompassing, safe. Her eyes stayed closed. Some instinct warned her that opening them would make everything real, would force her to confront whatever had happened, whatever she'd done. So she stayed in the darkness a moment longer, taking inventory of sensations instead. Soft fabric against her skin, a hoodie, oversized and worn, the kind that had been washed so many times it felt like a second skin. Loose jogging pants, the waistband rolled twice to keep them from falling off her hips. Both smelled faintly of lavender and something else, laundry detergent, maybe, or fabric softener. Beneath her was a mattress, her own, familiar in a way that grounded her. Softer than most, worn in all the right places from years of use. The sheets were her cheap cotton ones from Target, washed so many times they'd gone soft and thin. A pillow cradled her head, and a blanket, thick, heavy, weighted, covered her from shoulders to feet. But none of that was the source of the warmth. The warmth came from behind her, from the body pressed against her back, fitting perfectly along the curve of her spine, from the arm draped over her waist, hand resting just below her ribs where the hoodie had ridden up slightly, from the breath that ghosted across the back of her neck in steady, sleeping rhythm. Liarner. Mara's breath caught. Her heart stuttered, then began to race. She didn't dare move, but suddenly she was hyper-aware of every point of contact between them. Liarner's chest against her back, rising and falling with each breath. The press of her hips against Mara's. Her thighs tucked behind Mara's, their legs tangled together under the blanket. The weight of her arm, solid and real, holding Mara like she was something precious, something worth protecting. Mara's skin felt electric where they touched, like every nerve ending had been dialed up to 11. She could feel Liarner's heartbeat through the thin fabric of their clothes, slow, steady, peaceful. The kind of heartbeat that belonged to someone deeply asleep, someone who felt safe. Heat bloomed in Mara's chest and spread outward, warmth that had nothing to do with the blanket or the shared body heat, and everything to do with the realization that Liarner had stayed, had brought her here home, to her own apartment, had dressed her in soft clothes, had climbed into bed beside her and wrapped herself around Mara like a shield. Mara's throat tightened. Her eyes burned behind closed lids. She tried to remember what had happened. The cafe, the 12 she'd asked about, the 12. Then, the hiss, the car. Everything after that was fragments, flashes of sensation more than memory. The feeling of her body tearing itself apart and reforming. The taste of blood not her own. The rage, so pure and consuming it had felt like being on fire from the inside out. The Minotaur's eyes, wide with shock and then dimming, fading, going dark. Had that been real, or had she dreamed it? Some fever nightmare brought on by stress and exhaustion, and pain lanced through her side. Mara gasped, the sound quiet, but sharp in the stillness of the room. Her hand moved instinctively to her ribs, fingers finding bandages through the hoodie. Thick gauze wrapped around her torso, secured with medical tape. She could feel the edges of the wound beneath, deep, angry, still tender despite whatever care had been taken. Real. It had been real. She'd transformed into something massive and serpentine and violent. She'd killed. You're awake. Liarner's voice was soft, rough with sleep and something else. Her arm tightened slightly around Mara's waist, not restraining but grounding, as if she were afraid Mara might disappear if she let go. Mara's breath hitched. She wanted to speak, to say something, anything, but her throat had closed up. All she could manage was a small, broken sound that might have been yes or maybe just acknowledgement that she'd heard. "Don't move," Liarna whispered, her breath warm against Mara's ear, sending shivers down her spine that had nothing to do with cold. "You're hurt. Badly. Just stay still, please." Mara nodded, the movement tiny, careful. The pain in her side flared anyway, sharp enough to make her teeth clench. Liarna's hand shifted, sliding up from Mara's waist to rest flat against her stomach, fingers splayed wide. The touch was gentle but firm, holding her in place, keeping her from moving too much. "I've got you," she murmured. "You're safe. You're at your place. I brought you home." Her apartment, her own bed. That made sense. The mattress, the sheets, the faint smell of her own space mixing with Liarna's scent. "How long?" Mara managed, her voice barely more than a rasp. 6 hours, maybe 7. Liarna's thumb moved, just slightly, stroking across the fabric of the hoodie in a small, unconscious gesture. "It's almost evening. The sun's going down." Evening. They'd been at the cafe in the morning. That meant, what happened? The words came out cracked, desperate. What happened after she couldn't finish, couldn't say it out loud. "You won." Liarna's voice carried something complex, pride and fear and relief all tangled together. "You killed it, the Minotaur, then you collapsed and transformed back. You were covered before anyone could get a clear shot with their phones. We got you out of there before." She paused, and Mara felt her take a breath, felt the way her chest expanded against Mara's back. "Before anyone could identify you." The relief that flooded through Mara was so intense it made her dizzy. No one knew. She was still safe, still hidden. But the relief was immediately followed by shame, hot and suffocating. She'd killed something. Yen, the snake in the alley that had been the first time. Her hands, or fangs, or whatever she'd had in that moment, taking a life. And now this, the Minotaur. It had been a beast, a monster. It had thrown a car through a building. It would have killed people, would have killed her, would have killed Liarna. She'd had no choice either time, but she'd still killed. Twice now. Twice in less than a week. "Hey." Liarna's voice softened further, and her hand moved again, this time sliding up to rest over Mara's heart, feeling it race beneath her palm. "You did what you had to do. That thing was going to kill everyone in that cafe. You saved lives, Mara, including mine." "I don't even remember most of it," Mara whispered. "Just pieces, feelings, the rage, the pain." She swallowed hard. "I wasn't me anymore. I was something else. Something powerful." Liarna interrupted gently. "You were powerful, and terrifying, and beautiful in a way that shouldn't be possible." Her fingers curled slightly, gathering the fabric of the hoodie. "I watched you fight, watched you move. You were incredible." The words should have been comforting, should have made Mara feel better. Instead, they made her feel more lost. "What am I?" The question came out small, broken. "What's happening to me?" Liarna was quiet for a long moment. Her hand remained over Mara's heart, feeling each rapid beat. "I don't know," she admitted finally, "but there are people who might. People who understand these things better than I do. You need to rest first. Then we'll talk. We'll figure this out." People, not names, not specifics. Just people who knew about power and transformation, and whatever the hell was happening to her body. Mara wanted to push, to demand answers, but exhaustion was pulling at her edges, making thinking difficult. "I'm scared," Mara whispered, the admission torn from somewhere deep. "I'm scared of what I'm turning into. I'm scared I won't be able to control it next time. I'm scared." Her voice broke. Liarna shifted, and suddenly they were even closer, if that was possible. Liarna's arm wrapped more fully around Mara, pulling her back against her chest in something that was less a hold and more an embrace. Her other arm slid under Mara's pillow, wrapping around her from both sides, cocooning her completely. I know, Liarna breathed against the back of Mara's neck, and there was something raw in her voice, something vulnerable that Liarna rarely let show. I know you're scared, but you're not alone in this. Not anymore. Mara's eyes burned. She blinked rapidly, trying to keep the tears at bay, but it was useless. They came anyway, hot and silent, soaking into the pillow. I've got you, Liarna murmured, holding her tighter. I've got you, and I'm not letting go. Not again. Never again. The words broke something open in Mara's chest. A dam she'd been holding together through sheer force of will. She turned carefully, slowly, mindful of her injuries until she was facing Liarna instead of facing away. The movement brought them even closer together, if that was possible. Chest to chest now, hearts beating against each other through layers of fabric. Liarna's arms adjusted automatically, one sliding under Mara's neck, cradling her head, the other settling on the small of her back. For the first time since waking, Mara opened her eyes. The room was dim, curtains drawn against the dying light outside. But even in the near darkness, she could see Liarna's face inches from her own, could see the concern etched in every line, the exhaustion shadowing her eyes, the way her lips were pressed together like she was fighting to hold back her own emotions. "Hi," Mara whispered, because she couldn't think of anything else to say. "Hi," Liarna whispered back, and the corner of her mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but close. They stared at each other in the dimness, neither speaking, neither moving, just breathing the same air, existing in the same small space, the rest of the world falling away until there was nothing but this moment, this bed, this warmth between them. Mara's gaze dropped to Liarna's lips, then back up to her eyes. She saw Liarna's breath hitch, saw her pupils dilate even in the low light. "Mara," Liarna breathed, and it sounded like a warning and a prayer all at once. "I know," Mara whispered. "I know we shouldn't. I know it's complicated. I know you left for a reason, and I told you to go, and everything between us is—" "Shut up," Liarna said softly, and closed the distance between them. Their foreheads touched first, then their noses, brushing against each other lightly. Their breath mingled, warm and soft. Liarna's hand came up to cup Mara's face, thumb tracing along her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "You almost died," she whispered, voice shaking. "I watched you fight that thing, and I thought I was so sure you were going to." Her voice broke. "But I didn't," Mara whispered back, bringing her own hand up to cover Liarna's, pressing it more firmly against her cheek. "I'm here. I'm alive. Because of you. You stayed with me. You brought me home. I love you." The words hung in the air between them, shocking in their simplicity, their honesty. Liarna's eyes widened, as if she hadn't meant to say it out loud, hadn't planned to let that truth slip free. But she didn't take it back. Mara's breath shuddered out. Her eyes burned again, fresh tears threatening. "You left," she whispered, and there was no accusation in it, just pain, just confusion. "If you love me, why did you leave?" "Because I love you," Liarna answered, and now the tears came for her too, tracking silently down her cheeks. "Because the world I come from, my family, the things I can do, it's dangerous, Mara. It's violent and political and cruel, and I didn't want to drag you into it. I wanted to keep you safe, even if that meant keeping you away from me." "That's not your choice to make," Mara said, and there was steel beneath the softness now. "I'm not some fragile thing that needs protecting. I can make my own choices about what risks I want to take." "I know," Liarna whispered. "I know that now. I just She took a shuddering breath. I watched you turn into something out of nightmares and fight a monster with your bare hands, bare fangs, and I realized that trying to keep you safe by staying away was the stupidest thing I've ever done. Because you're already in danger. You're already part of this world, and you need someone who understands it. You, Mara finished. I need you. Liarna's thumb traced across Mara's lips. The touch felt light, but electric. Yeah, she breathed. Me, if you'll have me. If you can forgive me for... Mara closed the last inch of distance between them. The kiss was soft at first. Gentle, just lips pressed together, barely moving. Both of them afraid to push too hard, to ask for too much. But then Liarna made a sound, something small and broken and desperate, and deepened the kiss. Her hand slid from Mara's face to the back of her neck, fingers threading through her hair. Her other arm tightened around Mara's waist, pulling her closer despite the layers of bandages and the pain it must have caused. Mara didn't care about the pain, couldn't feel it past the overwhelming sensation of this Liarna's mouth on hers, Liarna's body pressed against her, Liarna's heart racing in sync with her own. She kissed back with everything she had, pouring months of loneliness and fear and desperate longing into it. Her hands found Liarna's face, cupping it, holding her like something precious while simultaneously trying to pull her even closer, as if they could somehow merge into one person, as if proximity could make up for all the time they'd lost. Liarna's leg slid between Mara's, tangling them together more completely. Her hand tightened in Mara's hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss further. She tasted like mint toothpaste and something uniquely her, and Mara wanted to drown in it, wanted to forget everything else, the pain, the fear, the monster she'd become, and just exist here, in this moment, in this warmth. They broke apart only when breathing became necessary, both gasping, foreheads pressed together again. I missed you, Mara whispered against Liarna's lips. God, I missed you so much. I missed you too, Liarna breathed back. Every day, every single day. They kissed again, softer this time, slower, learning each other again, relearning the shape and taste and feel of something they'd thought they'd lost. Liarna's hand slid down from Mara's hair to her neck, her shoulder, her arm. Her fingers traced patterns on Mara's skin through the hoodie's fabric, gentle touches that made Mara shiver for reasons that had nothing to do with temperature. You're trembling, Liarna murmured between kisses. You make me nervous, Mara admitted, which was true, though not the whole truth. The whole truth was more complicated, that Liarna's touch made her feel safe and terrified all at once, that being this close felt like coming home and stepping off a cliff simultaneously. Liarna pulled back just enough to see Mara's face in the dimness. Do you want me to stop? No, Mara said immediately, emphatically. No, don't stop. Don't. She swallowed hard. Don't leave again. Please. Something in Liarna's expression softened even further. I won't, she promised. Not unless you tell me to go. And even then, I'll fight you on it. That startled a laugh out of Mara, rough and watery, but genuine. Pretty sure I can't fight anyone right now. I can barely move without wanting to cry. Then don't move, Liarna said gently, pressing a kiss to Mara's forehead, then her temple, then her cheek. Let me take care of you, just for tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. Tomorrow we'll deal with the clans and whatever's happening to you. But tonight, she kissed Mara's jaw, then the corner of her mouth. Tonight, just let me hold you. Let me remind myself that you're alive. That you're here. That I didn't lose you. Mara's eyes slid closed, overwhelmed by the tenderness in Liarna's voice, in her touch. Okay, she whispered. Okay. They settled back into each other, this time with Mara's face tucked into the curve of Liarna's neck, her arms wrapped around Liarna's waist beneath the blanket. Liarna's chin rested on top of Mara's head, her arms encircling her completely, holding her like she was something infinitely precious. For a long time, neither of them spoke. They just breathed together, heartbeats gradually slowing and synchronizing, the adrenaline and fear and desperate longing settling into something quieter, something that felt almost like peace. "Your heart's still racing," Liarna murmured after a while, her hand moving in slow circles on Mara's back. "Yours is too," Mara pointed out, feeling the rapid flutter against her cheek. "Fair point." Silence again, comfortable this time, the kind of silence they used to share back before everything fell apart, the kind that didn't need to be filled with words because presence was enough. Mara's fingers traced idle patterns on Liarna's side, feeling the subtle shift of muscle beneath fabric, the warmth of skin. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." In the cafe, before everything went to hell, "I asked you about the 12. She felt Liarna tense slightly. "You were going to tell me. I could see it. What are they?" Liarna was quiet for a long moment, her hand stilled on Mara's back. "The 12 great clans," she said finally. "Ancient bloodlines. Families that have had power for a very long time. Longer than the current awakening. Longer than most people realize power can exist. And you know about them because," Mara prompted gently. "Because they're real. Because they exist in the shadows of this world." Liarna's hand resumed its movement, soothing circles on Mara's back. "Some of the awakened who have had their powers for years since before 2020, they're connected to these clans. The clans have been around for centuries, maybe longer." "How many are there?" Mara asked, trying to piece together this hidden world. 12, Liarna said, "named after the Chinese zodiac. Some say the zodiac was actually modeled after them: rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, pig. 12 families, 12 types of power that run in bloodlines." Mara absorbed that, trying to wrap her exhausted brain around it. 12 ancient families with powers that predated the modern awakening. It sounded like something out of a fantasy novel, except she'd just turned into a giant serpent and killed a minotaur. So apparently fantasy was real now. "And the powers," Mara said slowly. "How do they work? Are they all the same, or different?" Liarna interrupted gently. "Powers fall into rough categories. There's animal transformation, people who can shift their bodies into animal forms. There's elemental people who can control or create things like lightning, water, air, fire, earth, metal, poison. That's supposed to be the most powerful category, though it's hard to master. And then there's utility, which is everything else. Telekinesis, mind reading, gravity manipulation, healing, shape-shifting. Weird abilities that don't fit the other two." She paused, then shifted slightly. "Like this." Mara felt Liarna's body change against her, not dramatically, but unmistakably. The shape of her face shifted, bones restructuring subtly. Her hair shortened, the texture changing. Even her scent altered slightly, becoming familiar in a different way. Mara pulled back just enough to see, and her breath caught. She was looking at herself, at her own face, her own features, rendered perfectly in Liarna's body. It was disorienting and surreal, like looking in a mirror that was warm and breathing. "Jesus," Mara whispered. Then Liarna shifted again, flowing back into her own form like water returning to its natural shape. Her features smoothed back into the face Mara knew, the face she loved. "Shape-shifting," she said softly. "Utility category. Not as flashy as throwing lightning or turning into a bear, but useful." Mara stared at her, heart racing for entirely new reasons now. That's incredible and terrifying." "Welcome to my world," Liarna said with a small, sad smile, and which Mara started to ask, then stopped herself. Liarna had been careful not to say which clan she belonged to, which category her power fell into. Never mind. The clans guard their secrets, Liarna said softly, understanding what Mara had been about to ask. Who belongs to which family, what their specific abilities are, that's not information freely shared. Even among the awakened community, most people don't know the clans exist. They're myths, legends, stories people tell but don't really believe. But they're real. They're real, Liarna confirmed, and there are legends within the clans themselves. Stories about people who achieve something beyond the normal limits of their power. Elemental animals, they're called people with animal transformation who can also control an element. It's supposed to be incredibly rare. Someone could train their whole life, know the forms, do everything right, and still never achieve it. Mara's breath caught. Serpentine form. Poison. Is that? Maybe, Liarna said, her voice troubled. Your form is serpentine, and if you absorbed something from that fight, if that's what triggered your transformation. She trailed off, clearly uncertain. The Snake Clan would know. They're one of the 12, one of the oldest, actually. If anyone could tell you what's happening, it would be them. And how do I find them? Mara asked, half afraid of the answer. Liarna was quiet for a beat too long. I think, she said carefully, they might have already found you. The implication hung in the air between them. Someone in the park. Someone who'd been teaching her. Someone who'd appeared at the cafe. Who'd stopped Liarna from interfering. But Liarna didn't say a name. Didn't confirm what Mara was beginning to suspect. And Mara was too tired, too overwhelmed to push for answers she wasn't sure she was ready to hear. And what I did today, she said slowly, turning into that thing. That's related to them somehow. I think so, Liarna admitted. Someone recognized something in you, in your training, in the way you move. That's why, she paused, choosing words carefully. That's why certain people have taken an interest. Why someone stopped me from interfering when you fought the Minotaur. Because I'm one of them. The idea felt absurd, but I'm not. I'm nobody. I'm not part of any clan. I'm just... You're not nobody, Liarna interrupted fiercely. You're never nobody. And whatever's happening to you, whatever you're becoming, we'll figure it out. I'll help you. We'll face this together. Mara wanted to believe that, wanted to feel reassured. Instead, she just felt more confused, more lost. I'm tired, she whispered, which was true but also an excuse to stop thinking. To stop asking questions she wasn't ready to hear the answers to. Then sleep, Liarna murmured, pressing a kiss to the top of Mara's head. I'll be right here when you wake up, I promise. You better be, Mara mumbled, already feeling the pull of exhaustion dragging her back down. If I wake up alone again, I'm going to be pissed. Liarna's laugh was soft, genuine. Noted. No disappearing. Got it. Mara's breathing began to slow, deepening as sleep crept closer. Liarna's warmth surrounded her, anchoring her, keeping the nightmares at bay. The last thing she registered before consciousness slipped away was Liarna's voice, barely a whisper. I love you. I'm sorry it took me so long to come back. I'm sorry I left at all. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Mara wanted to respond, wanted to say it back, wanted to tell Liarna everything she'd been holding inside for the past year. But sleep claimed her first, pulling her down into darkness that was, for once, warm and safe and full of the steady rhythm of Liarna's heartbeat against her own.